Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Behind the Curtain. My name is Chelsea Sutton, and this series is brought to you by Markel Horse, the insurance company powering the American way. I am so excited to be here with this panel because I get to see you guys all throughout the season, but I rarely get to sit down with you. So Shawn, Flarida, Andrea, Fappani, Deary, thank you guys for being with me. I want to dive right in on the question that I know everyone watching the Run for a Million, whether live or at home, is curious about. What goes into picking the horse that you bring here to the competition where you are running for a million?
There's a lot. You know, the availability is the biggest thing. And it is all about horsepower and trying to get the right horse. But it's also, too, you know, people think about, we just come up with these horses. It's really not like that. You know, you think about your favorite football team or your favorite basketball team or whatever. Try to pick the top 5 or top 10 players of that league or that sport. That's what we're up against. And then the availability. Are they having babies? Are they making babies? And is that owner willing to allow that horse to go back out in competition? So there's a whole lot in it for me, and I'm sure these guys here will have lots to add for that.
Yeah, I'm timing for myself too. You know, even if you have a couple in the barn, you got to time it just right to where they're peaking at the right time. You know, by this time of the year, we've already showed them 2-3 times if they're Derby age. So between NRBC, the qualifier, sometimes at the Cactus Classic, then the NRHA Derby. So if it's an NRHA, Derby age horse like myself this year, it's a horse that you got to question yourself, how many more runs does he have this year before we start giving him a break? So there's, like Shawn said, soundness, we want to make sure that here in this arena they're going to look great and perform at their best, so they have to be 100% sound. There's a trot check, they're going to get tested, so everything's going to be has to be 100%. So there's a lot of factors. It's not just a horse that you've done well on maybe 12 months ago or 5 years ago. It's about a horse that's at the right place at the right time right now.
Yeah, and I think it takes a really special horse mentally. Like it's a lot of pressure to run through those gates with that many people yelling and screaming, and they're here for a week in this environment. So, I think you got to have that horse that's a team player and that's comfortable with that kind of pressure.
Let's talk about the specific horses that you guys chose and what factors played into it. We'll start with you, Casey.
I'm currently planning to use Downright Amazing, and that horse has been a team player his whole life. He showed up for me over and over and over again, and he's great-minded. The crowd doesn't bother him, but like Andrea was saying, he's made a lot of runs. He's been in tough spots a lot of times, and so I can tell you this year we've shown some wear and tear that weren't there as a 5- and 6-year-old. So that's kind of the biggest challenge that I'm working around.
This year I picked a younger horse. I usually show older horses that maybe have been out of the show pen for a couple of years and bring them back. And this year it's a little bit different for me. I'm showing a 5-year-old stallion named Mike Drop. And the reason why I decided to show him is because I feel that he's at the top of his game right now. He's been solid for me. We've won a little bit over 200,000, but I didn't think that he had peaked yet. And the last couple of shows where he's been, I felt that I finally got him where he needs to be. So I'm going to take a little bit of a chance by showing a horse that maybe hasn't showed his full potential, but I feel as a trainer and a horseman that it's getting there. And I'm hoping that tonight or Saturday night will be the night.
I'm going to try to show Spook's Got a Whiz. He's been a great horse to me. He's like one of my best friends. He's definitely the older guy of the group. He's 17, but just a great horse. Does he have enough gas in the tank? Shoot, I don't know. We're going to find out. But he's been a great one, and he's old in our sport because a lot of our horses, just like Andrea's horse is 5. I think Casey's horse is 7. Our horses typically are fairly young, but in other events and stuff like that, they just had the Olympics, and I think one of the horses in there was 23. So it wouldn't be uncommon for these horses to come back. And like Casey said and Andrea, we take such great care of these horses, and they get iced and they get massaged and they get everything. So I think eventually our sport maybe would see some horses maybe be a little bit older.
Well, and I do think it's awesome that you're bringing Baby, as he's commonly known, out of retirement for this retirement in the show ring, if you will, because he's still an active horse, knowing that they're competing against horses that are at the peak of their level in the aged events.
Well, so Andrea is showing one of his sons, and I don't know if there's ever been, he's by Spook's Got a Whiz, right?
Yeah, he's by Spook's
So I don't think there's ever been a father-son compete against each other. So it'll be unique. Very
unique. Would love to hear from each of you, because I'm sure just as the mindset of the horse is very important, so is yours as competitors. when you think about this venue, this experience, you know, competing at the Run for a Million is a different game than any other horse show for many factors. You also are coming from qualifying 5 months or even a year prior. So you've known this day was coming. What do you guys do to mentally prepare, and what is a part of that strategic thinking? Are you thinking about the ground? Are you thinking about the judges in the chair? What are those factors that you think about from start to finish?
Well, myself, I think that earlier in my career, I got in my head and thought about those factors that you mentioned a little bit too much. I think I probably thought they had a heavier weight than what they really do. I think that both myself and my horse, if we've got to this point, we probably have what it takes to be here. We deserve to be here. So I try to just build confidence in myself and my horse. As far as grounds, you know, at this week we're going to go through different events. Thursday there's going to be the cut-in. Friday they're going to go down the fence. So really overthinking the ground and trying to get your horse prepared for the ground, I don't think it makes a whole lot of a difference. These horses here are all great stoppers. I think they adapt to the ground pretty dang good. So, you know, my experience is to repeat what I've done before and hope that you can, you know, for me, that's the biggest challenge. You know, when I have a great run on a horse, I try to think, okay, what have I done to get to that point? And hardly ever I can repeat it exactly that way because it just doesn't happen. But that's what I try to do. That's what I try to achieve. You know, I know what it takes to get that horse ready, and that horse doesn't know that we're at the Run for the Million, or he doesn't know that we are at a local show. It's just another horse show for them. So it's very easy for us to tell them how important the show is and how nervous they need to be. So I try myself not to do that, not to fall into that and treat it the same as another horse show. It's never the same, but that's what I try to achieve.
Well said, Casey.
Yeah, I know for myself, I do my best to go in that arena and ride like I'm all by myself on my outdoor track. I feel like that we work that way at home every day. I prepare that way. That horse is comfortable with me being that way. So I do my best to kind of suppress all of that extra anxiety. I mean, I don't intentionally do it, but I catch myself yawning and walking around, cutting up and making fun of Andrea most of the time. But it's I try to make it a pretty lighthearted, fun experience, and it helps me stay in a frame of mind where that horse is comfortable with me being.
Everything these guys said is so true. For me, going back to basics, simple, stupid, don't overthink it, and I'm very I'm easily for me to overthink stuff like that. You know, you can trick yourself into thinking this or thinking that, and getting your horse to do some things that maybe isn't really necessary. It's still a reining. You know the pattern. The judges are going to do their part. The ground's going to be what it's going to be. You go be the best you can be and let everything else fall apart, or fall where it may fall. Thank you.
Fall together.
Fall together. Yeah.
You guys sitting here are arguably the winningest reigning contenders that exist in the industry. Andrea, with a lifetime earning of over $8.7 million, the highest in reigning as a professional to exist. Shawn has won amongst these groups the most, 7 futurities and 6 derbies as either champion or co-champion. Casey, a 2-time winner of the American Performance Horseman, 3-time NRBC champion, and those are the tip of the iceberg for you guys' resume. Each of you have been in every single Run for a Million that has been since day one. This is going on year 5. Neither of the 3 of you have taken home that championship title here. I think
that's why we're here. Wondered how they picked us out.
Now it makes sense. The 3 losers.
You know, what time's the ice cream shop close?
I would say that you're the 3 winners, and what makes each of you so unique, and why you're sitting in this chair, why I have the opportunity to talk to you, and why I can list some of those statistics is because you are each great at becoming greater every time. And I think this show provides an opportunity for you guys to keep doing that, right? The fact that the NRBC Championship, the Futurity, the Derby, those things aren't the end for you all is really a neat spot to be in. Talk to me about what you think about, what you plan for, what you mentally prepare for. We've talked about the horse side of things, knowing what it takes to be a champion and knowing that there's still something to win here this week.
Well, I think part of it too is that our breeders have done such a great job of breeding horses that are suited for this event so well, that handle the pressure, they have the experience. I mean, you have horses like Shawn's horse, he's a classic no matter what year it is, right? His style, the way he does things, it fits wherever you take him. But there's other horses that have kind of phased out, and I think we have a younger generation of horses that have made our jobs easier that make us look like maybe better horsemen than we are.
This is definitely one of those titles that you want at some point in your career. You know, we were lucky enough and worked hard enough to accomplish most of the other things that we set in front of us, and it doesn't matter. You know, I know he looks old, but he's pretty young, and you know, I'm in the middle, and he's a little bit older.
I knew that was coming.
So I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. You always set a goal in front of yourself, and like you say, this event provides that for me. I mean, this is as high as I would want to be at some point, and. You know, is it going to be this year? I don't know. Every year, I try to let myself know that it could be the year, but I'm also pretty realistic. I'm going against 14, 15 other guys that probably think the same way. So, you know, it's different because the other major events, we get to show 2-3 times a year. You know, you show one time and then in a month and a half, you get a chance to redeem yourself. Here, you got to wait a whole other year. You know, you think about it all the time. And for me, it's been definitely something that's been on my mind. So it's exciting and I'm excited to do it. But it for sure adds a little bit of pressure.
You know, I think all three of us and a lot of our peers that are even here that are not in this particular room, our desire to compete and our desire to learn and to get better, not only as horse trainers, but as horsemen for our horses. And then like what Casey said, you know, the breeders are breeding better horses and we're coming up with better ways to take care of them, better ways to train them. I know there's not a day that we don't go by. I think I can speak for these two guys, that we don't think, how can we be better, but how can we make that horse better? I mean, we wake up in the middle of the night and we think about it all the time. It's something that we love. It's a way of life. It's in our blood.
Well said. I would love to speak to all of the things that go into the business of training and showing horses. That is part of what makes up getting here, and not the details and nuances, because I saw your face and there's a lot.
Right. We need to bring his wife here.
Yeah, I was gonna
he doesn't know any of the
Bring another chair.
A whole lot to unpack. We could do a whole series probably on just that. However, I'd love, especially from the horse trainer's perspective, in this sport, from the beginning days, our industry was built off of aged events, futurities for 3-year-olds, derbies for 4 to 6-year-olds, now 4 to 7-year-olds. This event was one of the innovators in the industry, that it's rider qualified and you can bring any aged horse, which we've already talked about. Has this changed the way you all have to operate in your business from a day-to-day perspective, knowing that you, number one, need to qualify, but then number two, are going to have to compete against horses that could be 17 and have a lot of experience and history, while the rest of your show career might be focused in aged event horses? Andrea?
Well, I think it's a combination. Yes, I do think it's changed the way we train our horses, just because the longevity of it. We need to make sure that they're going to last a lot longer, but not just this event. I think Andrea has done a great effort into adding the 7-year-olds, now some of the maturity stuff. So, I mean, I remember just when I first moved over here and I had my first futurity horses and the owner said, well, after the Derby, I'm going to take it home because there's nothing else for them, you know. So you wouldn't even have that many horses in training because you had the young ones coming up and then maybe a couple Derby horses and then they leave right away. So it's changed so much. I think NRHA has done a great job, and I think a combination of our breeders and people like Taylor that come up with ideas of making the reining more accessible to the public. They had to bring it to a bigger platform, and in order to do that, we've got to take care of those horses a better way and making them last longer. So yes, I think it's changed completely the way we approach our business.
Shawn?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you know, it's the highest paying event that we have, where when I was a kid, and I think when these guys here started, you know, the futurity was the highest paying thing. So it is changed. Like my son, and I think Andrea's son, and I'm sure Casey's too, you know, they are growing up and saying, hey, we can go win $500,000 in one night. You know, what Dad, what did you think the futurity was such a big deal for? So, you know, so it is changed, but I think, you know, what Andrea said too, NRHA's done a great job. Taylor, thank you for everything you've done, you know, and you've brought it to light and brought it to a mass of people. And the following of the fans and stuff like that that's growing. I never thought as a young person that would happen. So it does change the way you look at it. And we do look at horses all the time and say, hey, that horse there, he might fit in this environment and something like that. One thing that maybe these guys here didn't speak about is when you run through that gate on Saturday night, it's loud. And we thank the crowd for that. It gives us adrenaline, and also the horses too sometimes. But it's not every horse can handle that. So it does. You do got to think about it for sure.
I think it changes. Events like this change the way we even breed our horses, because now we're aware that, you know, you don't have a week at the futurity to prepare for one go around. You show up here, and the last 2 days you don't even hardly get to go in that arena anymore because there's so much going on. So they need to be ready and stay ready for. So it takes a special horse, a special mind, like he was saying.
Well, and like what Andrea was saying, that ground. So we're all practicing today, and that ground feels good. But that ground's going to change here about Thursday because there's other stuff in there. So, you know, you take them horses that are maybe really, really special. You know, if you think about what makes them special, obviously they're super brained, but maybe their ability to adapt. Also, too, maybe all horse trainers is their ability to adapt.
Probably could end the interview right there, Shawn. Thank you. Anything you want to add to that, Casey?
No, that's his statement about the horse's ability to adapt that's a real deal. I mean, these horses that we're showing at that level, they stick the front of their foot in the ground, and they can tell if it's really fast or it's gotten heavy, and they can adjust on the fly. Yeah, I mean, they're going to know before we know it.
In the middle of a stride.
Yeah.
I am going to ask one more question. If you were talking to someone who's witnessing this event for the first time, maybe they found it from the last Cowboy or Yellowstone or a friend brought them, what would you say to them?
Well, it's the best of the best, so they picked the right place to be at the right time. You're not going to get a better event in raining than this, so it is going to be the best.
I'd say enjoy the show, but find somebody local that can expose you to it, because it's a great sport, and there's a place for everybody.
Well, thank each of you for taking the time out of your busy days as you especially prepare for such an intense competition this weekend, for sitting down with me. This was another episode of Behind the Curtain presented by Markel. We will see you next time.